Hello, sad boys. How are we doing? How are we feeling? We feeling good? Today, I would like to put together the two albums that serve as inspiration to the series. If it wasn't for the unjust rivalry between Set Your Goals and 4 Year Strong, two bands that sound so similar, yet are so far apart. What happens when we go song by song of the absolute pop punk classic Set Your Goals Mutiny against the other bona fide pop punk classic 4 Year Strong's Rise or Die Trying? Since both Mutiny and Rise or Die Trying have 11 songs, I'm just gonna ignore all the demos.
It's a revelation, a moment of clarity, and I am trapped in.
Mutiny starts us off with Work in Progress. This song has so many staples of the pop punk genre just already built into it. Feels like the building blocks for what so many pop punk bands would use to build their sound off of. You have the soft acoustic guitar singing personal, emotional lyrics that are extremely relatable. Before the full band comes in with the yell, we get a little group chant, and then we go into heavy drummings. There's almost like a hardcore quality to how the verse comes in, and then we pick it up and make it feel like a joyous celebration of working in progress, never being completed, always improving yourself, always working on yourself, always moving forward, which is really what music should be at its core. It should be people coming together with ideas and wants and thoughts and artistic desires. There is something to admire and to enjoy in that progress, in that working towards a goal. In 2 minutes, 14 seconds, this sets up everything the band is, everything the band believes in, and the sounds you're gonna be getting throughout this LP. Now, 4 Year Strong has a similar triumphant opening. There's a saying at the time, a mindset at the time, you may have heard it, defend pop punk. I get being defensive over your music taste, feeling like you have to fight for the things you like, the things you have interest in. Pop punk took that idea of defending the things you enjoy and made it the aesthetic itself. It made it part of the identity. We're outcasts, we're losers, this band is all we have, this music is all we have, so we're gonna play it and we're gonna sing it loud and you can't stop us. Try to shut us down, parents. The funny thing is, the genre just didn't have that dangerous tone that like punk had in the decades prior. The Takeover on Rise or Die Trying, an album with a cover depicting a battle, regardless of how silly this space mechanical shark wizard squid battle may be, the song The Takeover, the intro of it, feels like we're drumming up the army to charge face first into the pit. And in that sense, this intro does get you really energized. It gets you really jazzed for the songs to come, which is why they just throw it straight into track number 2. Don't even give you time to breathe. This feels a little more like an intro. The first minute of it is just like weird sirens, ambient sounds that don't really lead to anything before the instrumentals come in. They do come in hard, but I think Work in Progress is just more of the song. And if you've been following along, then you know I always prefer the song over the intro. Similar to the Takeover, a Work in Progress shoots directly into track 2. 53 seconds, giving us even less than the intro. This album is paced incredibly uniquely. They have lyrics, they have a structure, but they don't really have like that verse, chorus, verse. Kind of gives them almost an indie feel. Like, yeah, this is pop punk, but this is almost like anti-pop punk, in which they have those punk roots in it, and they just happen to be singing in this very upbeat, energetic way. Kind of making fun of themselves, but also looking at the industry, looking at more serious topics. They aren't just singing songs about girls and relationships. They're trying to go a little further. If I were to make a distinction between Set Your Goals and 4 Year Strong, it would definitely be in the subject matter and the tone in how they present their music. I never realized how much reverb was on their vocals. Their vocals feel very distant, and there seems to be like a lot of noise in the production. I don't know if it's just these first two songs, it's just the voices hit a little different than I remember them hitting. I remember them feeling a little more clear. Let's get the first real song from 4 Year Strong. And at barely over 3 minutes, we get our first song, our first meaty song with a verse and a chorus, and then another verse, and then another chorus. My goodness. If we are comparing these two albums, because I am, and if we are comparing these two bands, because I am, then what I will say about 4 Year Strong, they may not have the intellectual depth or the artistic credibility that Set Your Goals has, but what I find about 4 Year Strong is they never half-ass a song. This band feels like a total unit, like every single member is on the same page and they're all playing as one. And in that way, the songs are like, they're catchy, but they're not overly simplistic, and it's not like a melody that I feel like I've heard 1,000 times. The flip side is, though, I do have a tough time pinpointing what chorus goes to which 4 Year Strong song. Like, Set Your Goals, I know what every song sounds like the second starts. Maybe because their titles do take on that Panic at the Disco kind of sillier title name, more of a representative title. Maybe because they do that, it is harder to grasp like which song is which. That being said, did the 53 seconds of We Do It For The Money make more of an impact than Prepare to Be Digitally Manipulated? I like the chorus of Prepare a whole lot more. I like the back and forth in it. I don't know if I like the combination of their voices better than the vocalist of Set Your Goals, but I like the vibe it brings more. Like, I want to hang out with these guys. I want to interview Set Your Goals, but I want to fucking hang out with 4 Year Strong. We're 1-1. Not sure how this playlist is gonna sound when you listen to it all together, because both albums do kind of depend on their structure.
This is so loud, oh so loud, ringing in my head.
So I must make a confession. When I downloaded Mutiny, when I had Mutiny on a physical CD that I had burnt myself and I put it in my Subaru Legacy, when I listened to Mutiny, it may have been a collection of LimeWire rips. Some of the songs weren't labeled correctly. Some songs that aren't on the album were, and then some of the demos were just labeled as the actual version of the songs. So what ended up happening is I had sort of a Frankenstein mismatch version of Mutiny, and that was kind of the version that I had always like listened to and got attached to. So Dead Man Tells No Tells is actually not number 3 on my version. Now, every time I go back and I listen to the vinyl or I listen to the album proper, it strikes me really odd just how soon and how quickly we get through these first songs. That being said, though, I think having this weird structure, having these little snippets of songs gives it a creative push that a lot of pop punk albums don't have. Set Your Goals doesn't play by any of those rules, and I think that really does help make this album stand out. Because Down Here, It's Our Time, A Pirate's Life for Me. Staying on theme with pirates, with water, with mutiny, with being on the sea, a brotherhood. I don't know why pirate imagery was so cool for the pop punkers. There's this EP called The Captain and the Crunch, which was like a hardcore concept album about Captain Crunch selling the high sea to try and find his cereal. What the fuck was that called? Abandon Ship or Abandon All Hope continues that imagery, continues that feeling. I really like how it's drum forward and the stuff they're doing with the guitars and just frenetic, kinetic energy that you can't help but want to sing along to it. They enunciate just so well. Fundamentally, I just don't know if Dead Men Tells No Tells gives me enough to warrant a place on the playlist. So for the second time in a row, I'm gonna have to go with the 4 Year Strong song. But don't worry, because now it's time for Set Your Goals to get their shit together.
Take back your discipline now. This is a genuine revolt. I am far from, so far from.
Now I feel like we have gotten the Set Your Goals experience. We have finally gotten a taste of what this band truly is, what they fucking care about, why they exist in the first place. A statement, a testament of true punk values, a punk virtue injected into a scene that has been sorely missing it. In 2006, it was just like, who can we get big? Who can we sign? Because Fall Out Boy blew the fuck up. The music industry, our rock, our post-punk, our hardcore, then became commercialized. It now became commodifiable. Now you can sell pop punk to a young Warped Tour generation. Well, Set Your Goals is here, no longer young, no longer impressionable, to imbue ethics into the scene, not selling yourself out, not compromising yourself, but at the same time, it's like if you like My Chemical Romance, if you like Fall Out Boy, if you like these big pop bands, like, are you being manipulated or do you just enjoy the music? But when you are a high schooler, when you are defensive about what you like, what you enjoy, you can't help but just feel revitalized as a young, artistic, impressionable person living in the Midwest, eating Little Caesars pizza and skateboarding to get by. What's good about Set Your Goals is if you never really thought about the music industry or you never really cared about how these bands actually get big, they're providing an opportunity to look past a curtain and see what it's like for the bands themselves. And I think this is a very well worded, good representation of ethics to imbued in music. They are not soft on the message. Conformity has no authority. I can agree to compromise. Contemptible are your contracts. This is a full-blown assault. This is an assault on us as music lovers, and it's up to us as bands, as music lovers, to fight back. And then they bring it back. They bring it back to what matters to them. Turn my amp up to 11, sits nickel wound strings that Say Me Again. That's literally all it is. It's just kids playing music, connecting to one another. You don't need an ego, you don't need drama, you just need to make music. And then, goddammit, 4 Year Sean had to put their greatest declaration of bandom as the same track as Mutiny. Heroes Get Remembered, Legends Never Die is probably the song that got you into the band. If you liked 4 Year Strong in 2007, it's because you heard this song and it just got you fucking going. The way the double bass kicks in, the way the guitaring is just edited. I'm finding the production on Rise or Die Trying a whole lot better than Set Your Goals. It's just cleaner and tighter, heavier. I like that they have the keyboardist, but the keyboards is actually mixed in with the song, and it's not like so overbearing that it's becoming the main focus of it. This song is so tight, so energetic. There's so many singable parts to it. Just this line alone is such a beautiful fucking image of what the feeling of a crowd coming together is like. Together, we can achieve something. We can be a band. We can make music. We can be legends. These videos are about making difficult choices, difficult decisions. If I have to use musical integrity that I have imbued myself with, that I have been crowned with, Mutiny just speaks so specifically, and it's just such a good pathway into punk ethics that has to make its way onto our playlist. Sometimes these choices are harder than others. I kind of find Set Your Goals a little similar to Say Anything. They're commenting on themselves, they're being cheeky and fun with it, but really they're commenting on music itself and the creation process. This song is definitely not about a girl. It's actually about how people interpret their songs to be about a girl. Maybe not just them, but like bands and music in general, how it's like, hey, there's more here, but we kind of just take everything at the most surface level interpretation that we can give. It's a little pretentious in that it's like, you don't understand, you don't pay attention, you don't listen to my therapy bled upon this paper. But they do it in a way that's like fun and it's winking at the camera. so it doesn't sound like harsh or mean. It doesn't sound like they're demeaning their fans. It sounds like they're poking fun with their fans. Enjoyable song. For Your Sean has always been a very interesting blend between their heavy breakdown tendencies and their poppier, sing-alongable pop tendency. You know, the pop and then the punk. You have the pop and the punk. I find 4 Year Strong is weaker, not necessarily bad, but weaker when they delve into those pop tendencies over their punk tendencies. If we look at their last song, Heroes Get Remembered, that is just so heavy and forward in the instrumentals from second one, where Wreckham almost feels like a completely detached song in comparison. It feels like a left turn into something a little more lighter than what this band has shown so far. But that being said, they're still on it. They're still playing tightly. They're still fully energetic. The performance is there. It's just sometimes their melodies or their attempts to be this ultra catchy heavy band just doesn't really work, and that's fine. Not every melody is gonna hit. As long as the production and the performance is still there, it's not a bad song. This song is definitely not about a girl. Speaks to me a little more than Wreckham, and I've always enjoyed it generally. Oh, I miss that fiery atheism of the early 2000s. I'm very curious on what Set Your Goals' actual politics are, because they seem to be hinting at like ideas, political ideas, without really stating or pointing fingers. So in Mutiny, there's like this almost unionization sense to it. Like, hey, we are collective. There's more than us than there are sharks. So why don't we collectivize? Why don't we pull our resources and become the leading driving force of the music industry? We're the artists, we should have the power. But there's nothing really here that is explicitly saying one political ideology or another. So when we get to Old Book Misread, this is obviously anti-theistic song against Christianity. The old book being misread is the Bible, and it's talking about personhood, about get off my back, this was never salvation for me, so keep it away. It is very aggressively against the church and Christianity, but it isn't violent. There's something a little more emotionally intelligent with how they're handling the subject matter, even if the lyrics themselves isn't necessarily the deepest. Organized crime comes in more forms than one, and your God is no exception. With all that being said, I find it a catchy melody. I like the chorus to it. It just doesn't hit quite as hard as some of the previous songs. Catastrophe has more of a laid-back feeling to it. The verses are really emphasizing the vocalists and is more toned down than their other songs. I really like the chorus. I think the hook is really good. The verse hits me kind of like how Wreckham did, where it's a little softer impact. It doesn't really have that full oomph, but I think the chorus well makes up for it. This song is definitely about a girl. I think that's safe to say. Save your breath and get down with me. I never thought it would be this easy to spread you like a disease. So he lured this woman to bed. He's now in bed with this girl, and he thought it wouldn't be this easy. Like, he's calling her out for fucking him. I don't know. Some might be shitty, but I think that it's fun enough that I don't really pay attention to it. I said earlier that 4 Year Strong, the two singers worked better for me, and I liked how their voices played off one another, but I do think Set Your Goals is doing more interesting things with the two lead vocalists. Their voices cut each other off, they overlap one another, one finishes the other's sentences, sometimes in reverse. Their voices are just like so creatively flowing off of one another that you can't quite intellectualize when one ends, when one starts, who's singing what part. It's just like they're all folding on top of one another, and you can't help but just be pulled into the journey. Biggest compliment I can give Set Your Goals is that this album sounds like nothing else. Men from Mars picks it right back up with another song that's just like energetic and instrumental forward. That kick drum just pounds you through the song. This one feels like a continuation of the last song where they're still talking about this girl that may not be the best for them, sleeps around, making it so obvious, dancing her way from bed to bed. But he acknowledges his fault. He's acknowledging his part to play in the situation with, "You're like a fever, I can't get over you." This very moment provides just enough variety in their sound. I think it stands out a little more than the 4-Year Sean offering. Not a super passionate choice, but I feel good about that one.
These 12-hour drives, they are nothing.
All these songs about being a band, about like singing together and like being on the road. We do this because of you. We seen this because you seen it back to us. Feels kind of silly when the band hasn't put out an album since like 2012. It's a song about being on the road, about playing shows, a pop punk staple. I don't think this is the first one. Bouncing Souls have been doing it for years, but ultimately the song doesn't really have an impact on me besides that. It's like fun and enjoyable, and I relate to it in the sense that I like playing shows, but instrumentally, it just doesn't sound that unique.
Let me see you put your hands up on the stereo. It's beating at a ridiculous frequency.
A similar song about playing shows. Though this one feels like almost an action movie. Intermission's over, we're hitting the house lights, we're getting back into action, we're gonna hit it, we're gonna play it again, so put your hands on the stereo. It feels like it's not just for the people in the band, it feels like the audience is participating in this journey, in this experience. Keyboard is a lot more present, but it doesn't distract. It doesn't get too sugary or poppy. It's just synthesized enough to give a different texture to the song without changing the overall tone of it. I think the verse, the chorus, everything in here is super tight. I love the hooks, and I think ultimately they just seem more true, or in a way that I find more interesting than Flight of the Navigator. And I also really like this music video. Not that it should matter, but it does here.
This time, we've got a first-class motive. We should start.
I believe this is another song about being on the road, about wanting to go to new places, meet new people, inviting your friends to come. You're invited, you know. It's about going for your dreams, trying something, even if you might fail, because if you don't try, then you'll never know. You know, you miss the shots, you miss all the shots you don't take if you. The game vocals work really well here. The drums are really heavy. The song has like a good pounding tempo to it, but it almost feels like it's low energy. Like there's just something missing out of it. I want it to feel more intimate, but they're going for a bigger band sound. It's just like fighting with me emotionally on the record. I don't know who we're beating down. I know the beatdown is like the instrumentals itself. It's like a happy hardcore, that like posy punk. But when the song is about not even wanting to get to know this girl, because I'm pretty sure she's like lame and dumb and there's nothing to get to know. It's weird that it's called beatdown. Are you beating these girls down? These girls that you love in these towns that you hate, are they the ones you beating down? There's parts in here that I really enjoy, but overall, this just feels like sort of an empty 4-Year Sean offering. But I do enjoy parts of it, like when the instrumentals drop out and they're both singing in harmony. But as far as the overall songs, I actually like To Be Continued more. God damn, the fucking reverb on their vocals is awful. It just doesn't make the band feel as impactful as I remember them playing. I think that's why I enjoy the demos more, because the demos, they don't do that shit on there. Don't Let This Win Over You is another minute-long breakdown from Set Your Goals. Just an energetic declaration of friendship, of bandship, of people coming together to say, don't let this win over you. Don't let this take control over you. We're here, baby. You listen to us. Listen to Daddy Set Your Goals. We will give you the right goals to set. Out of their minute-long interlude, heavier songs, whatever, I think this has the most to offer. They have a little like two-step part in it. Set Your Goals is using a lot of influences from like 90s hardcore and like post-hardcore, and they're just doing it to a more upbeat, energetic sound. Some pop punk bands are influenced by pop. Set Your Goals seems to be more influenced by the punk side of it. And For Your Sean, if you've listened to Explains It All, they're definitely more influenced by the 90s. If He's Here, Who's Running Hell perfectly gives you that feeling of just being in a crowd, being in a group, being at a house show with all your best boys and just singing every song you've ever learned, every song you ever heard. It just has such a celebratory feeling about not wanting to get pulled down into alcoholism with your friends. You know, it's like there's a party vibe to it and you can have the party without being a complete wreck. This song perfectly illustrates that counterbalance of wanting to be a fun party band, but also wanting to be healthy as people. And that ending, chanting, screaming part is just so fucking perfect. I believe it brings our playlist to a tie as we go into our last song. I knew these two albums were comparable, but I did not know they would be this closely matched. Who will break our tie? Who will be the dominating album on the playlist? There's only one way to find out, and it's by pressing this button right here.
Quick bullet, tough one to dodge, and no one ever.
So if you are a fun pop punk band, you sing about being a group of individuals having fun, living your dream, fighting the music industry, creating a movement. But it's the saddest tragedy that can befallen a community taking your life, and how when that person is gone, how they echo, whether it be like their pictures or more a place that reminds you of them. It just feels like there's shadows and echoes of that person everywhere you go. So I do think anti-suicide songs are good, and I really like that this doesn't shame you. It doesn't make you feel like a shitty person for wanting it or for having that ideation. This takes more of a practical approach. Is just breathe in, take it in deep. We'll get through this together, and I will keep pieces of you alive in me. I will mourn the loss, but I will be stronger. A very sad note for this record to end on, but a very powerful and necessary note to just drive all this messaging, all these hopes and thoughts about what music can be, about community, about the music industry, and just makes it so incredibly personal. And it's about creating a community so you don't feel that isolation, so you don't feel that loss, so there aren't these echoes. I will say this is the most effective ending Set Your Goals could have put on this album. A song that hopefully lasts long past whatever impact this band has had on the music industry. I do like how it incorporates the guitaring from the Takeover, how it brings back the Rise or Die Trying, how it brings everything back to a closing, a very definitive stopping point that kind of closes out the ideas and everything that they were trying to bring to this song. I just feel like the first 2 minutes before we get to that breakdown aren't the greatest. For Your Sean has tighter songs, they have heavier songs, they have poppier songs, and they have catchier songs. While I think I like this album more, and I've listened to this album more, Echoes is just like one of the greatest pop punk songs ever written. And that is why it will close out our playlist. We have tipped the scales of the pop punk emo scene in favor of Set Your Goals. This is my full playlist of Set Your Goals Mutiny versus For Your Sean Rise or Die Trying. Do you agree? Do you disagree? What songs would you have chosen? Would you have even pit these two albums against one another? Let me know below. I'm Grayson Todd. Stay swazzy, stay posy. Thanks for watching, listening to some good shit, and I'll catch you next time.